What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 58 of the RXP podcast, the podcast where three working professionals talk all about their love for movies, TV shows, and video games. I'm, of course, your host, Matt, and today I am joined by Tiffany.
Hello, hello.
And Alex.
Hello.
What is going on? It is 2022. We have arrived. We are like full back in the swing after our holiday break. How are you guys feeling? A couple weeks in?
I still thought it was 2021 last week.
I feel like
So-
you have like a month or two where you keep writing 2021 on everything, and it's like a pass almost. You get into like April still saying 2021. I think you have a problem. But it's 2022, guys. This episode is all about what is happening in 2022. I would say, if you go back to our Zeitgeist episode, right? We're talking about hype. We're talking about what gets us there. I feel like I am very much a hype person. Like I just get hyped all the time. And so this episode is all about that. We have, listeners, 6 items each of things that we are looking forward to in 2022. And honestly, when I was putting my list together, I realized how much I'm looking forward to this year. Like, there's way more than 6 items that I could have talked about, but it was hard, and I narrowed it down to 6. Are you guys ready to go through our 6?
I'm ready.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
So, starting at number 6, I'm going to be talking about a game that I've been looking forward to for a long, long time, Tunic. Tunic is a isometric game. It is very much Legend of Zelda. The one developer, so this is a one developer team. This is a guy that left, I think he was on Silverback Games and left because he was doing this kind of like a side project. Really wanted to make his mark and do something that he really loved. Has been developing this since 2015. So this is 6 years in, oh gosh, it's been 7 years in the making. I almost did the whole 2021 thing. 7 years in the making, and it's finally coming out in March. This is also being published by the people that made Night in the Woods, or last year the game Chicory, Colorful Tale, same publisher. This is, I think, going to be an indie darling this year. This is definitely giving me that Death's Door vibe of kind of that Legend of Zelda-like that takes a lot of influence from one of my favorite gaming franchises. It kind of makes it its own. It's this small, little, cute little fox in an unknown world, getting power-ups, fighting, evil things as it goes along. Looks cute, looks fun. It should be coming to Xbox fairly soon, just a couple months away, and honestly, it has been 7 years in the making, and I am so excited for it to finally be out. So that takes my number 6 spot, which of course, I don't know if you guys would play it on Steam or maybe online or on PC potentially.
I've seen a lot of demos for this played, right? Because it's had a few like previous demo showings last year. And it definitely feels like it's one of those like Death's Door situations for me where I'm not like super hype on it. Like I understand the anticipation for it, but I think it's something that I'll come to at a later point. So if it releases maybe mid-year, feels like this is like a good fall time game for me where I'm like, maybe it's on Epic Store. Maybe Epic has a $10 coupon that they like to give out very often. I'm like, if I can get Tunic, $6 on Epic or something like that, that sounds like it'd be a great deal for me. But I think it's something I'll get to eventually this year.
Mm-hmm.
It looks very cute, and I'm intrigued by it, but I'd have to wait for it to come to Switch or something for me to consider getting it.
Yeah, I bet it would. Like, this looks, honestly, if you look at some of the screenshots, it looks like a Switch game. And, this kind of being a third-party publisher, it's coming to Xbox exclusively right now on console, but I would imagine this makes it a Switch eventually. Maybe, 6 months, kind of like Death's Door. Anyway, Tiffany, we're just going to go straight to you. What's number 6?
So, my number 6 is a Netflix original show. I was very taken with this small series called Bridgerton on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
It was a it's based on a bunch of romance novels, like literally, and it is a Victorian era show. It's about this family, the Bridgerton family, that has like 8 to 9 siblings. In the romance book situation, it's like each book is one sibling, and the first season came out Christmas Day of 2020. And I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2020 because it didn't, yeah, Christmas Day 2020. And I watched it, like binge watched it Christmas night, stayed up late. It's really cheesy and kind of ridiculous, but I very much enjoyed it. And I like the whole the crazy fact that they have like 8 sibs. And also I think the unique twist on it, well, there's 2 unique twists. The show has like a gossip column, essentially. Like this one character named Lady Whistledown talks about all this gossip and publishes papers to share with like freaking Victorian London, and like talks about how like, you know, so and so might be interested in so and so, and they were seen behind the bushes, blah blah blah. It's ridiculous, but it also has classical style modern music. So they legit have like a freaking string quartet play like Shake It Off or something. Like,
Interesting.
And they blend it into the show like it's normal. And the show is literally the production company that makes this show is Shonda Rhimes' company, you know, from Grey's Anatomy fame, from How to Get Away with Murder, the whole shebang. It also has blind casting, which I really like. So they're very, you know, open to diversity, especially during a time in Victorian London where there was no diversity, really, you know, in the historical sense. And I think even in the second season, one of the characters or one of the characters' families might be Indian or Pakistani.
Okay, cool.
Which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And the queen is actually, I think, like black. Like in the show, the queen of the time is black. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's a binge watch. You know, you're probably gonna think about it for maybe a week and then move on. But I had a blast and it was adorable, and you know everyone's attractive, so it was a fun time.
Does it have a solid date yet?
It does. The second season comes out, I believe, sometime in March. But let me check that really quick.
The interesting part of the music thing kind of brings me back to The Great Gatsby, the one with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah,
like
I never saw that.
It had its faults. It kind of was all over the place sometimes, but what I really loved about it was that they made a choice to not just go completely jazz with the music, but instead have it like hip hop and rap, because the reason that they were talking about it is that was like a very like conscious choice on their part, because in like the 1920s, jazz was kind of like this music that was maybe more urban and maybe like more not as sophisticated as someone that comes from like a high class. And so they were saying in like today's time, like how to translate that is to go to like R&B, hip hop, and rap, and that's kind of like our modern kind of music that would meld with Great Gatsby. So that's pretty interesting. I never got into it. I love chick flicks though, so I've always been meaning to go back. So maybe I'll check it out before the second season comes out.
Yeah, so I just double checked. The second season comes out March 25th. Also, one thing that I was pretty excited about is that Netflix actually came out and said there's definitely going to be at least 4 seasons. So, and we don't know if each season will be one sibling or if they will start merging, like, because the first season was one sibling. And so they don't know if season 2 is going to be, you know, the second sibling or like 2 of the siblings' arcs in that season. So it's quite fun. You know, just, yeah, like a rom-com. I mean, not really much comedy, but just a little cute romantic situation. Short, you know, 8 to 10 episodes. So looking forward to it.
All right, Alex, number 6.
All right. So we have a game, we have a show. So obviously mine had to be a movie, right, to round out the trio. So my number 6 is the MCU movie Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And this comes off of we're getting a lot of Doctor Strange recently, right? As people might know, he's in Spider-Man. He was in the MCU movie, the collaborative MCU movies of Endgame and Infinity War. He had his own movie several years back. It just feels like we're getting a lot of him, and also Benedict Cumberbatch, great actor, and the fact that Doctor Strange as a character was apparently important in the What If series on Disney Plus as well for some episodes.
Yes.
And so really a lot of what the MCU has built to recently, or at least Disney's building / Marvel's building with the recent releases, is some sort of obvious importance of Doctor Strange in what may be the future trajectory of the MCU as a whole, right? Obviously things like Loki is playing, has story elements also relating to it. And so I'm really interested in Multiverse of Madness, mostly because, right, it has Doctor Strange in it, and also this feels like the first real kind of kickoff. I know people look at Spider-Man No Way Home and you might point to that being kind of the first major kickoff, or even Loki and pointing to that might be the first major kickoff of this whole entire next phase of the MCU. But I think it's really going to culminate in saying this is what is setting the ground for what to expect for the rest, the next few years from Marvel movies. And I'm very interested also in the premise. I do like how it seems like the enemy or the main antagonist of the movie is just going to be an alternate version of Strange that has gone through different things. And I think that type of character conflict that's, I guess, technically interpersonal, but also intrapersonal because they're two different Stranges, that I think, at least stylistically, you can tell an interesting story to say. At one point, they're probably the same, but at that point, they then split off into wildly different directions. So you're going to have kind of a, I guess, dueling acting situation where obviously he has to be antagonistic to himself. So I'm definitely interested to see what happens.
This is my number 2.
Nice. Wow. Cool.
Most anticipated experience. I'm so stoked for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I took off a day from work to make sure that I could watch it multiple times.
Okay, I didn't go that far, but I'm excited for it. Obviously, because it's my number 6 and not my number 2. But
because it comes out on May 6th, baby.
This didn't make my list, but it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. I think it's probably... it might be my most excited thing about the MCU this coming year, and I feel like there's still a lot that we really don't know about it. As far as like the teaser trailer that was at one of the deleted scenes, or end credit scenes, was just a trailer for this movie. I thought it looks interesting, and I'm excited for it. Benedict Cumberbatch. Like if we get more Benedict Cumberbatch, I'm just excited. And finally, to make What If like meaningful. Like I would love to see What If. Yeah. Because honestly, if What If was just standalone, oof. Yeah, what if not? Like that would have been great.
Did not hit.
Yeah.
Did not.
All right, my number 5. My number 5 is an HBO show actually that comes out. I forgot all about this coming this year, which is Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. This is the prequel to Game of Thrones. I came in very late to Game of Thrones. Actually, the only season that I watched live was the last season, which is the one that everyone hated. I'm very nervous about this show, but the teasers and all the trailers leading up to this point makes it look just amazing. Like, I just cannot wait. And honestly, HBO just has this gloss over them that I just feel like their shows and their productions are just so well done. So I'm really excited for this. I know that they're going to really get the acting right. I think what I'm most worried about is potentially the writing, because that was kind of what hindered the last couple seasons. But I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's going through Game of Thrones for the first time this year, and just listening to her thoughts on it right now, like I just like had all these memories of that show, and I just can't wait to see more. Definitely forgot that it was happening. It doesn't have a specific date, but it is TBD 2022.
Are we going to get more Starbucks coffee in House of Dragons?
Oh man, it's 200 years in the, before. So I don't know. Like we get a cafe.
You're right.
Then? I don't know.
Starbucks doesn't exist yet. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, there was so much a mess about that last season. Ugh. Anyway, Tiffany, you're number 5.
So my number 5 is one of 2 items on my list that does not have a confirmed release date. I'm just hoping and praying that it comes out in 2022. And that is...
Did you forget?
No, I'm doing a dramatic effect.
That was a nice pregnant pause, for the listeners
but
out there.
for a second, I thought Discord stopped, and I was like,
nope.
Dang it.
Yeah, it's like, did the audio cut out? They're checking their timeline to be like,
I'm
it's
pregnant
still
pausing
playing.
because I don't even know if it's coming out this year, but it's Umbrella Academy Season 3. I really want it to come out. Honestly, I was debating between this and The Boys, and to be honest, I just... Like, The Boys is sort of like a show that you can't, like a car crash you can't turn away from, but Umbrella Academy has like a lot of family issues and family dynamic, whether it's like quirky AF. So
yeah.
I'm really intrigued to see the results of all the time travel shenanigans, and so I really, really, really hope that it comes out this year. I'm looking forward to Umbrella Academy coming back and seeing a whole new set of 1s through 6s, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I did not even remember this was coming out potentially this year. And honestly, you're so spot on. The Boys, like we've done multiple peer reviews on The Boys, and like I really enjoy The Boys, and we'll probably do a peer review on season 3 this June, so check it out. But man, is it a mess. Like it's just so like it makes you feel almost like
I feel
dirty on the inside. Yeah, it's just like it's very graphic, and it does have some of that conflict, but the conflict in Umbrella Academy is just like has more like
nuance,
different shapes and nuance to it. Yeah. It just wow, what a great pick. Great pick.
I hope it comes out.
Alex, have you ever seen Umbrella Academy?
So I did watch the first season with Tiffany. I have not
Okay.
gone around to watching season 2 because, not to say that season 1 left me not willing to watch a second season, but I just haven't found the time. As a callback to stuff from last year, I only just recently started watching Squid Game. So like that's how slow I am about, catching up to things that have come out. But, I might get to it since I at least watched the first season. I do have some history with the show.
Yeah, and honestly, it's the charisma for number 5. That kid can act.
He really can.
Like, honestly, I'm looking forward to his future roles beyond Umbrella Academy, whatever they may be.
Has he been in anything other than Umbrella Academy that I would know? Like, just offhand?
Not off the top of my head.
I feel
can't.
like he's going to be something special. Like,
I hope so.
He's excellent. Oh my gosh, he's so good. Honestly, that entire cast, at least from like the core family, so good, so good. I will gladly do a rewatch right before it comes out, if it comes out in 2022. Alex, you're number 5.
All right, my number 5, Square Enix game. This has a release date, and that's Forspoken.
Okay, nice.
So I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past. We talked about it when we did our draft episode, which was our most recent episode before this one. And it's my number 5 mostly due to the fact that, it's running on the Luminous engine, which is the engine they used to develop Final Fantasy 15 on. And having played that several years back and kind of seeing what maybe Final Fantasy could have been on that engine gave me hope to say, you know what, at least the tool set is here to make an interesting game, right? Whether or not they executed that well in 15 itself, I would say no. I don't think they really had the idea of how to create an open world game, let alone make Final Fantasy into an open world game at that time, but at least the technology was there to, to say, hey, at least we can build an open world, make it look pretty good. And I mean, it's running on a PS4. It doesn't run the best on PS4 hardware, but at least it's something, right? And so with this, right, Forspoken's PS5 exclusive, so we got that, they're targeting current gen hardware. This thing will hopefully run great, full frames, full resolution. And I just like the idea. I mentioned it in the Fantasy Draft episode that this is a AAA isekai game. And by that, I mean, to listeners that don't know what isekai means, it literally means another world in Japanese. And so it's taking this New Yorker who's played by Ella Balinska, that actress, and transporting her to this fantasy world where she gains a magic bracelet that allows her to cast magic spells. And I don't know if the bracelet also lets her run really fast, but I'm going to assume that also gives her the power to traverse environments very quickly. And so this just looks like a high budget fantasy, RPG that has a quote unquote kind of realistic character, right? It's like a human like you and I, and just in a fantasy world with magic. So I think I'm not as hopeful for the writing because initial trailers for it don't give me that much confidence to say that it's going to be great, at least dialogue wise, but at least the gameplay looks really interesting. And, as the buzzwords are, fast paced and frenetic. So I'm definitely interested on those grounds.
If this is something I'm intrigued by, we are RXP recommended experiences. This is something that I'm going to have to wait to see what you think of it before I take a dive. Is it $70 at launch? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think.
Assuming.
Yeah, last time I saw in the PlayStation Store, they had it. The digital version was listed for $70.
Yeah, this is, if you just tell me a fantasy RPG, that should be right down my alley. That's, I feel half of the games that I play. But there's something about the trailers that's just not grabbing me, and I just don't know if it's bad trailers or a bad game. I don't know until you play it. So I'm very happy that you're excited for it, and I will wait for your recommendation. When is it coming out? I might have missed that.
May 24th.
Okay, cool. Excellent.
At least in the US.
I'm pretty intrigued, even because of who the writers are and the world building of this game. Gary Whitta, who wrote the screenplay for Rogue One, and then this lady that worked on Uncharted. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but
Amy
they
Hennig.
have Amy Hennig. They have people that know how to make a good story. So.
Yeah.
Even though the game does look a smidge janky, in my humble opinion, I mean, I'm not. Listen, and audience, you can know. I must confess, I honestly sometimes can't tell the difference between 60 frames per second versus not 60 frames per second. But even to me, Forspoken looked a smidge on the jankier side through the trailers that I've seen. But I'm a sucker for a good story, so I'll be there in a heartbeat if there's a good story involved. I guess I didn't know how to finish my sentence.
Yeah. No, if this is good narrative, hey, I guess it doesn't look at Guardians of the Galaxy this last year. Great narrative, didn't care for the combat, but it didn't matter because I was stuck there for the story. And honestly, the locomotion of this game looks second to none. This looks like a fun game to run around in. I just don't know what else there is. So, yeah, it might be the dark horse of this year for me. But yeah, more to come. So going on, this is going to be a heavy hitter, guys. I just don't know if you're ready for my number 4 most excited thing for 2022. And this is something that there might be a couple. This is something that I do not know if it's coming out in 2022. This is me just going for the fences, and it's not Silksong, because we're not even going to talk about it until it happens. This is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. It's so low on my list, partly because some of the other games and movies and TV shows above it are just I'm more hyped for, but 2, I don't know still if we're getting this. I won't be certain until Nintendo puts out a tweet or has a Nintendo Direct talking about it. This game is, just one of my favorite game series. I do not think, and this might be a hot take, I do not think Breath of the Wild is my favorite, nor do I think it's the best Legend of Zelda game of all time. I'm definitely more towards the N64, as you've 100% heard me talk about before, and even some of the earlier games in the Legend of Zelda series. But still, Breath of the Wild 2, this is going to be a great game. If this comes out, this is going to review like crazy. Tiffany is going to have a hit on her hands for Fantasy Critic this year if it comes out. My worry is, though, I was pretty sure it was going to come out holiday 2021, and we still haven't heard anything. We just finished the 35th anniversary of Legend of Zelda. Like, they missed all their opportunity, and I know COVID, is still an ongoing thing. But if it comes out, this game is going to just ruin my productivity for anything outside of being at work.
Would you take a day off for this game?
Yeah, I would.
See, Nintendo holds a lot of their games close to their chest, and I kind of can appreciate that they won't let the hype factor stew for way too long.
Yeah.
I mean, we only just found out, like, last week that Kirby and the Forgotten Land is coming out in March,
Yeah.
So I could really, honestly, I could even see like an E3 Nintendo Direct happening, and they say coming out September 20th or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're very, they do well with balancing keeping the hype strong, but also like releasing things relatively soon when they know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this game is coming out. I really think it's coming out this year.
Yeah, like I feel like now that Smash is out of the way, like there's no real speculation on Nintendo as long as like this is just a standing order. Every Nintendo Direct there might be a Smash character. What's everyone's recommendation? Or what's everyone's prediction? I think that Breath of the Wild 2 is the next thing. Like, hey, what do you guys think that this is going to even be called? Because we don't even have a title yet. We just keep calling it Breath of the Wild 2. I'm really excited. I think that some of their trailers are definitely edited and don't make sense put together. So I think that they're trying to keep, close to the chest like you talked about.
Yep. So I know that what number are we on? 5?
We are number 4.
4?
Yeah, that was number 4, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't have a release date for you, but my number 4 does. It's actually coming out March 11th, 2022, and that is the next Pixar movie, Turning Red. So Disney has announced that the movie Turning Red will premiere on Disney Plus on March 11th, 2022, and I don't believe they will charge extra. There's no cost for premiere access or anything. They're just giving out to the masses. They've done this with every other Pixar release since the pandemic has pretty much been raging on, with Onward in March of 2020. I'm kind of bummed that they're just giving it away for free, but you know what? I'm not going to complain because I'm kind of averse to that whole payment method anyway. But I'm so excited for Turning Red. Number 1, Pixar has very few misses. And number 2, it's about this little Chinese girl that lives in Canada who's growing up in the 90s that has a family curse or something that, like, people turn into red pandas when they're embarrassed. I don't even, honestly, like, who knows? But they have Backstreet Boys music in the trailers. They have, this girl has, like, this girl power friend group, these 2 to 3 other girls that just love and support her. And both of her parents are alive. Honestly, like, this is a win.
Yeah.
Get this on my screen. I'm probably going to be quoting this movie for the rest of the year. I just know it. I feel it in my bones.
You have been so hype about this. Every new trailer you've been sending to the group chat. And I feel like both Alex and I are just like, okay, have a great time. But now that it's coming to Disney Plus,
I'm going to force a group watch. There's a group watch method on Disney Plus. I'm going to be like, get your butts into Discord and I'm going to play this.
I feel like we're going to be doing a peer review probably on this. great. Just kidding. I think that this is a movie that if it did not come to Disney Plus for free, I probably would not watch it. This is not something I would go to the theater for. But now that it's coming to Disney Plus, and if you say it's fantastic, then I will watch it.
I mean,
Or
I'm
I
borderline.
guess if we watch it together, then we'll watch it.
Then you'll tell me that it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, like, here's the thing, too, though. Like, I don't know. I'm confused if they're doing a dual release, because listen here. If they do this, like, Disney Plus at home and then in the theater, I might, if I love it that much, I might also just go to the theater afterwards to support this movie.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday when the ticket's only $6.50. But regardless, I want this movie to do well because I'm pretty excited about it. The director of this film directed one of my favorite animated shorts called Bao, which was this really weird, like, it was this short about this Chinese mom that, like, finally, like, had a kid or something, and it was this little dumpling. Like, legit, she made a dumpling, and it, like, personified into a little child, and she was, like, taking care of this little dumpling, trying to protect her little dumpling, and then he grows up and then, like, leaves the home, and she's just heartbroken. You know, because kids grow up and leave, you know? I was a wreck. I've literally watched that short and cried. Like, I've watched that short like 10 times, and 8 of the 10 times I've cried. Because I've also made other people watch this short. It's just
I've
really
never
sweet.
seen that short.
I'm going to make
before.
you watch this short. I'm
Okay.
literally going to make you watch this short.
It sounds
after
like
this
Toy
recording.
Story 3.
Yeah.
Like, kind of the ending. And I cried. I cry every time Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those movies, which I do cry during movies quite, like, it's not a completely
you have a heart
crazy
and soul.
Exactly.
Like,
It's one of those movies that could be on the TV, and I turn it on, and if he is giving his toys away at the end of that movie,
Lord.
I will start crying. Like, I just can't help it. And I think it's because, like, it came out, and, like, it was perfectly timed with my childhood. Like, Toy Story 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And so it just hits way different. So.
Yeah. But anyway, Turning Red, I'm really excited about it. Like,
Excellent.
and the red panda is freaking cute.
It is adorable. I will
Like,
give it that. And
yeah.
Pixar, they don't miss. You said
Yeah.
it. You know, they just
I
don't.
said rarely miss, Matt.
Okay.
We won't talk about the misses. Maybe that could be a podcast episode. I don't know.
Yeah, probably good. All right, Alex. Number 4. What you got?
Number 4, it's a Netflix show, and I think this will come at a surprise to both of you.
I'm already surprised that you said a Netflix show. This boy don't watch TV.
It's the only Netflix show on my top 6. So
Okay.
spoilers for my upper half. But that is the Netflix show for Cuphead.
Whoa. Nice.
And this is
Wow.
coming out in March, end of March. And,
I didn't even know that.
you know, for the listeners out there, you know, as you might or might not be aware, Matt, you know, big fan of Cuphead. This man's played the game many, many times. I, on the other hand, am very deathly scared of the game just due to the difficulty of it. So I have not played it myself. However, I really do enjoy the animation, the aesthetic, right? It's old school, like 30s, 40s, 50s, like that, like page by page, like hand-drawn animation. And the fact that it's getting an actual show goes to show how powerful that game was, and that, you know, inspired by the art that, you know, was the aesthetic for it, it then becomes that art that it was inspired by. You know, we're coming full circle here. And so I'm really interested because I love Cuphead just by the art aesthetic, and the fact that it's getting a show in the same aesthetic. Definitely super interested. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, right? It's Cuphead and Bugman. Maybe some other characters from the games appear there, but I think it's maybe original story. I don't know if it's following the story of the games, but super interested. Looks great. And I hope it just brings back those like old nostalgia memories for, you know, the cartoons from before I was even alive. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Fantastic pick. This did not make my list, but it narrowly missed my list because this and the DLC are both coming out this year, and I'm very, very excited for both. I am so excited though for Cuphead. Like, that show looks really good. It's funny if I feel like I have a pretty good appreciation because, you know, I've 100%ed on Xbox and PlayStation, need to get the Switch, version and, get the trifecta. But, you see some of the enemies and some of the bosses from the game in the TV show. So it'll be interesting because really you don't have as much lore, and most of those bosses, the big premise of the game is the bosses have become in debt to the devil. And so Cuphead and Mugman are basically just collecting their debt, which is their souls. And so that's the whole premise of Cuphead. So it'll be interesting to kind of see. I don't know if this is going to be before or after or just separate altogether. It'll be interesting to see kind of, okay, let's see what these bosses are like outside of the game, because you only get to see them when you're fighting them. So very excited for it. But yeah, you're right. The art is just amazing. I have been in love with it. It was my game of the year when Cuphead came out, and it's something that I think about all the time. And fantastic pick. All right, we have made it to the top half of our most excited things of 2022. I'm going to kick it off with my number 3 pick, which is my most anticipated movie of 2022, and this is The Batman.
The Batman.
Yeah, you
knew
knew
it.
it was coming.
I
You
knew
knew it was
it.
coming. This is just going to be fantastic. I hope. Like, everything coming up to this point has been spot on. The imagery of the trailers and just the grit of this new Batman makes me so excited. This is definitely going to be a younger take of Batman, and with it is kind of like more real life and gritty. Paul Dano, who plays the Riddler, going to be very different from Jim Carrey, who played the Riddler back in like 1992 or 94, whenever it was. Actually, it was much later than that. 98, 90, I don't know, something about that. This is just going to be fantastic, I feel. Matt Reeves, who is directing this, when he talks about it at DC Fandom or other kind of media outlets, he is someone that's just very well versed in the comics, and he almost has like a reverence to him when he's talking about this movie, where he doesn't want to just make another Batman movie. He wants to do something that adds to Batman. And I think that's something that's hard to do, because honestly, Batman is my favorite comic book. It's my favorite comic book character, and something that's very important to my childhood and my adulthood now. And I agree with everyone that Batman does get a lot of appearances. He has a lot of iterations and a lot of movies. And there was a time when we started getting like Batman v Superman, I was in the camp of, okay, maybe we need to hang up the cape for now. Like, maybe it's getting to that point where we don't need another Batman movie. And so I hope this hits, because I would love to be excited again about a huge blockbuster film. And I think he can do it. I really do. So we'll see. I'm very excited for it. It comes out in March this year. I'm very excited. I will be watching it when it releases, and so excited. So excited.
When in March is it coming out?
That I don't know. March 4th, 2022. So right at the beginning. It originally was 2021, got pushed back. They had some COVID problems on set for sure. But yeah, March 4th, it's going to be great, and I'm very excited. Are either of you planning on watching it? Maybe,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Maybe. If you're like,
Fantastic commitment.
hey, if you're just like, hey, you want to go? I'll be like, cool, I'll go. But otherwise, I'm probably not.
I think
I don't know.
I think for me, it's I will watch it eventually. I just don't know when. Like, I don't know if it's enough for me to want to go to the theater, but I think definitely when I have the opportunity, I will watch it.
Yeah,
I'm
kind of in that camp.
Like, the art direction of just the trailers, I stand by that. The Batman trailers have been some of the best that I've seen in the past few years. I just think that everything that's shown in those trailers makes me want to see it on the biggest screen possible. So I will for sure be talking about it on the podcast. You bet. So who knows? More to come. All right, Tiffany, number 3.
So everyone already knows what my number 2 is, but my number
Yes.
3, you don't know what my number my number 3 is.
That's
But my
correct.
number 3 is also in the MCU. I am looking forward to Thor: Love and Thunder, July 8th,
Oh.
2022. I loved and adore Thor Ragnarok. I'm a little bit heartbroken that I'm assuming Loki will not be in this rendition. However, you know, Taika Waititi at the helm, Christian Bale added as a new character. Like, what more do you need? I don't know. It's gonna be a blast. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a
Yeah.
wild ride, and I can't believe I didn't take off that day from work, so I just went in and put that request in. So
Excellent.
July
But that was the
8th.
difference between 3 and 2, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's it. That's the biggest difference. So yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. Are you guys not excited or enthused for this one?
I'm a little bit confused as to what will take place in that movie. And so I don't know enough to be excited for it. And honestly, the Thor series, just in general, I feel like is the most like hit or miss for it. Like Thor Ragnarok is super high, but then you start talking about Thor Dark World, which in my mind is like pretty bottom of the barrel. Not the worst, but like pretty much down there. And so I just don't know where it's going to go, you know?
It's Taika Waititi directing again.
And I'm sure he's going to be fantastic. And honestly, I would love to see Loki just make an appearance with this multiverse thing. Like, who knows?
Honestly, if it's literally just a photo of Loki and Thor being like, I miss you, brother, and like that being it, like I'd take that. Like, you
Or a
know what I mean?
flashback.
It's
You
like
never know.
the photo or the meme with Wolverine holding
Yeah.
the picture
Yes!
frame and like
Yo,
fondly tap.
Honestly, if that like that needs to happen.
That
I
would
will
be
I will
hilarious.
DM Taika on Twitter right now to be like, please.
They can fit it in. They've got time
Yeah.
between now and July.
Yeah.
So what made the Multiverse of Madness take this spot over Love and Thunder? Is it just because it's like recency, like bias of like all these things happening with multiverse? Or
No.
what?
It's because honestly, Multiverse of Madness, the more and more I like read about it, hear about it, think about it, it sounds like an Avengers level movie. Like
Okay.
the more I see it. Like the
Gotcha.
trailer, the characters, the impact, like it seems like a high stakes, high level film with a lot of cameos.
Yeah.
So that's why it's number 2 for me.
It's like
And-
the bottleneck. I feel like the MCU, like once you're going through the phases, like there's like bottleneck stories where like they all come together that then makes like such a big impact. I feel like Civil War was one of those, and like Age of Ultron came back. Like of course all the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely feel that. I don't know. Also, Natalie Portman's in Love and Thunder, and like she's gonna
Yes.
be like She-Thor, or what? Does she have an actual title?
Thor.
She's Thor. Got it.
I mean, in the
Cool.
comics, they kind of almost allude to like Thor's a title, not a person, or something. You know, I mean, it gets confusing. I did
Yeah.
read. I get confused by how comics come out, but like I bought like 2 hardcover versions of like Lady Thor that had multiple
That's what I
guess,
was thinking.
books,
Okay.
but like, or you know the tiny thin comics
Yeah.
that come out. Yeah, like it had a couple collections of that. It didn't really have an end, and I don't understand if I can buy more. Like I'm confused about what I bought. I read it though, and that's what I gleaned.
Okay. Excellent. So
but-
Thor's a title. It's like naming your kid like
It's-
president. Or
I mean,
something.
it's almost like Asgard's the people, not the place, or I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like that
right.
whole.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's audience. Feel free to email, comment below
Yeah.
at me. Like
We need
explain-
help,
like,
please.
Yeah, I
Help
need help
us.
with this. But I mean, I think Natalie Portman's a fine actress, and so
Yeah.
welcoming her
Yeah.
back seems fun. I mean, even the way I could imagine Taika doing a really hilarious way of incorporating her back in.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
yeah, that's
coming off of Ragnarok, which was, undoubtedly the best Thor movie, right? Like better than 1 and
Yeah.
2, bar none. I think for me, because you asked before about like what our hype levels were, and I think I'm towing the line of hype very finely here because, as I've expressed in the past, it's that thing where things I am expecting to know I'm gonna like or enjoy, or I hope that are good that I want to enjoy, I do try to do the media blackout type thing. So the fact that I really kind of don't want to know the people that show up or who's been cast to do what, because I think that just adds more intrigue to the movie to say when they do appear and then I point at the screen and it's like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where I'm like squinting and like pointing towards the screen to be like, oh, it's that person, and they're in the movie. I think that adds to the enjoyment to be like, oh, I really don't know what the scope is, right? Because as Matt was mentioning, he doesn't know what's happening in Love and Thunder, right? And you mentioned maybe She-Thor shows up or just Thor in general shows up, but in a different form, right? Possibly also linked to the Multiverse of Madness. Who knows? But I think that's where I'm at to say, because I don't know enough, I'm not hyped for it, but also I don't want to know more because I don't want to like spoil myself too much, because I think that's where I'm like, I'm intrigued enough to be excited, but I don't want to be overly excited to just read everything and, try to anticipate what might happen.
I feel like that's kind of the reason why I'm not as hype as far as like versus the Batman with like Multiverse of Madness or any other of the MCU movies coming this year, just because I feel like Batman for me is just so, it's easy to kind of think through of like what a Batman movie will be like. I don't know what Multiverse is going to be like, and honestly, I don't know what Love and Thunder is going to be like. I have not read anything about it. I just knew that Natalie Portman was in it, and that was it. So I'm excited. It could be something that just blows us away. Like, I knew nothing about Shang-Chi, and it was one of my favorite movies of last year, and still is one of my favorite MCU movies for sure. All right, Alex, number 3.
All right, we were talking a lot about Thor, and for my number 3, it's a different version of Thor.
Wow.
Not the MCU version, and I'm talking about God of War Ragnarok.
There it is.
Okay.
So this is the only entry on my list that doesn't have a hard date. As some of yours previous points have also not had a hard date just yet. But very confident in Sony can get this out this year, right? It was planned originally for last year. Cory Barlog went on Twitter saying, hey, we're delaying it. Fully understandable. COVID, production delays, who knows why. Regardless, take your time. But I'm confident God of War Ragnarok's coming out this year. We had the teaser, spoilers for God of War 2018. If you haven't played it, play it. You have no excuse now. It just recently released on Steam, so you don't need a PlayStation to play it. You can go play it on your PC Master Race and whatnot. But anyway, spoilers for God of War, though, so also if you plan on playing it, tune out for the next 30 seconds. We see Thor at the end of God of War, right? And albeit we only see his outline and then obviously Mjolnir, but that's all you need to see to know it's Thor, right? He's a big fat guy, pudgy hands, and he's got Mjolnir, the hammer, the legendary hammer. And so with that, I'm very excited. And I think, I've been hearing a lot of discourse about this game online, right? Through Reddit posts or gaming podcasts or even Twitter. And I think, at least for me, it's sitting at number 3, mostly because I'm trying to scale my expectations appropriately. Because honestly, for me, I don't know if the story will be as impactful as God of War 2018 was. And that's because, right, 2018 was such a growing moment for that franchise, right? It's essentially rebooting the franchise, right? It had, I think, 6 games before it. So technically it's God of War 7, because I think it had 4 mainline games and like 2 handheld games, all canon, by the way. And this being quote unquote God of War 7, but just being called God of War, right? It is a reboot for the franchise, but still carrying on the story and feelings of everything that's happened in the past, 6 games. It was so impactful to show that, Kratos as a character has changed, and also how he's trying to impart that change on an impressionable young boy. And with that, I just don't think whatever happens with Ragnarok will ever reach the highs that God of War did. And I'm not expecting it to. I think at least what they've shown so far of the game is they're really looking to address the gameplay, right? I know a lot of people complain about God of War 2018 and that there's a lot of repetition of enemies. The Draugr, are generally the same, except maybe different, sizes. And there's a lot of troll fights that, they'd have slightly different attack patterns and slightly different skin colors, but they're still trolls. They're still usually wielding some big, column to whack you within, maybe casting magic at you. But based on what we've seen, we already have a lot more enemy types, right? They showed off, a centaur. They showed off more of those weird like dog lizard things that can like crawl on the ground. They showed a lot more like bigger, kind of just burly like enemies. So I think gameplay wise, they're looking to really address it on that front. I'm expecting it. Also, I hope we get Mjolnir. I hope we beat up Thor and take the hammer for ourselves. It might be similar to the Leviathan axe, but God of War is also known for wielding multiple weapons. So we already have the Leviathan axe. We have the Blades of Chaos. Give us Mjolnir. Hell, give us like Atreus' bow maybe, or Atreus' bow. Let Kratos wield it. Who knows? But definitely looking forward to it. And yeah, I hope it's a good time.
Fantastic pick.
Fun fact, I finally finished the story of God of War 2018.
Fantastic. What'd you feel about it?
It was a grand time.
Okay.
I mean, I knew the story because, like, in 2018, Alex regaled me with the tales because at the time I never thought I'd play it. And so, like, I knew how it would end. And finally, I was like, you know what? Let me just pick this up. It took me, like, a year and a half to play through, even on story mode. But I was just taking my time with it. And then, honestly, this past weekend, I got into a groove and just, like, wrapped it up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does that make you...
It was fun.
Does that make you really excited for Ragnarok this year? Like, are you going to play it, like, day one?
It makes me very interested in it.
Okay.
Honestly, depends on when it comes out, whether or not I'm going to play it on release or not.
Gotcha.
Because I also, I originally started playing God of War through borrowing the game from Alex, and then it was straight up just free on the PS collection because I got a PS5. So having that luxury of playing the game without having to pay money was nice.
Yeah, makes it better.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. Are you going to play it on release, Matt?
Yeah. No, this is something that will take over whatever unfortunately releases at the same time. Like, if something else releases at the same time as this, it will take a back burner, including Breath of the Wild 2, because this is my number 2 most excited and anticipated thing of 2022. This game is something that I know. I love the first game. I played it last year for the first time. It made my top 6 of 2021 experiences. It's one of my favorite games of all time, honestly. And it is just a special tale. I think what's also great about it is that this is the conclusion of this arc. They're going to go beyond this and maybe go towards some different mythology after this. And what I really enjoy about that kind of factoid is that the problem with having a second movie out of a trilogy or a second game out of a trilogy is that it just, the climax of it just doesn't make sense sometimes, and it's almost like wasted. Like, okay, where are we going to put the start of the third game and the end of the second game? And for this, we had such a high ending with like a very epic fight, and now this is Ragnarok. We know exactly what's going to happen. He's going to face off against Thor. He's going to face off against any other god that's still there. This is going to be an epic game. I think this is going to have more of those epic fight sequences, because we didn't really fight too many gods in the first game, and I think that there's going to be more of those kind of hallmark, boss fights that are just going to be cinematic in a lot of ways, and that just makes me so excited. I think that this is definitely going to be a contender for Game of the Year if it comes out this year. If it comes out next year, it'll be Game of the Year contender next year. This is something that will shock the world, and I hope it takes full advantage of the PS5, because I'm just ready for it. I'm so ready for this game.
Yeah, even with Freya hunting you down, right? Kratos and Atreus down, like that. Definitely, that's going to culminate in a epic fight.
Yeah, 100%. And we don't know what Atreus is going to be like. He's a little bit older now. He has his identity revealed to him. what is he going to be like? How is he going to go with that knowledge? We kind of saw a little bit of it, him kind of having a big head towards the end of the game. But, now he's getting into the worst part of a teenager. Like, this could be terrible. Like, and who knows? Maybe he faces off against Atreus. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. And so I think that's my biggest thing. I try not to speculate too much because I definitely trust Santa Monica to just do their best. And I think they are great storytellers. So I'm excited for whatever story that they will tell us.
I thought the Valkyries were like obscenely hard even on story mode. Like I couldn't even beat one. like I was like going to Muspelheim to like do the trials just to like get like level up and stuff, and then the Valkyrie was just like demolishing my face. And I was like, this is not fun for me.
Yeah, those are so tough. So tough. I also don't remember, like, I remember playing that on hard, and I don't remember why I was playing on hard. I wonder if
you're playing the whole game on hard?
Yeah.
You're playing the whole... There's no trophy for difficulty.
Okay, then I have no idea what I was doing. The Valkyrie Queen was terrifying on the last... it was the worst part of that game because I was just so frustrated.
Why were you playing it on hard?
I don't know. Sometimes I like challenging things. I don't
You're talking to a man that's beaten Cuphead like 5 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I have beaten those on normal and hard. Got to get that platinum. You know what I mean?
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Tiffany,
skip me.
We've talked about your number 2.
Yeah.
So, Alex, your number 2 most excited of 2022.
All right, my number 2. Another Sony game that, as we are recording this podcast, yes, I'm dating the podcast, is only 1 month away. Horizon Forbidden West.
What? This is number 2?
This is number 2, Matt. Yeah, so let me go into this. So, Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon came out in 2017. Little known to most people because just a week later, Zelda Breath of the Wild and then Nintendo Switch came out and stole all of Horizon's thunder.
Yeah.
So people were like, what's Horizon? I don't care about this. I like climbing barren textured mountains with my limited stamina bar.
Next gen
Shots
experience.
fired.
I think that's what you mean to say.
Oh, okay. True. New console, like new game. But anyway, Horizon Zero Dawn came out. Amazing game. And it's my number 2 mostly because I really just like the world they built. This is a technically post-apocalyptic United States. This takes place, the first game in kind of the Rocky Mountains area. And now with the second game, we are traveling to the Forbidden West, the titular, West Coast. And so in the trailers, they've shown a lot of stuff from San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, Lombard Street, a lot of big famous locations that people who've lived in California or who have seen pictures will recognize. And I really enjoy this because from kind of 2 standpoints, and this might be something we get to later in another video in the future, maybe. But I like the contrast of having kind of these real world locations kind of reimagined as if nature took them back, so it's literally the urban jungle becoming a jungle once again. And I just like these depictions of, these landscapes just being, becoming natural again. And there's a lot of creativity there just with saying, hey, you remember this place that you might have walked down just, the other day? Well, now there's a river running through it, right? Like just due to the course of how like Lombard Street, right, is this weird kind of serpentine road that's downhill. And now, 2,000 years in the future, it's just a river, which would, make sense, if the water levels rise as well as the snow caps are melting. But, besides that, I think this game is doing a lot that's very interesting from a sci-fi storytelling perspective. And also, robot dinosaurs, what's there not to like? I'm definitely, as much as I know about this game, I'm equally in the dark because also with this, just like with Ragnarok, I'm trying to go media blackout on it. So, I have this game pre-ordered. I'm ready to play it as soon as, possible. And definitely, I think, as I mentioned in the past, just a lot of the stuff they did with the DLC for the first game, the Frozen Wilds, and also with what they did working on the engine the game runs on, which they gave to Kojima, who made Death Stranding with the same game engine, shows the very much the possibilities of what the Forbidden West might play like, with the traversal. They always talk about the polecaster, being able to kind of zip to points in the environment and launch yourself off, and then use the sun, or I think shield wing, to kind of glide around Breath of the Wild style. There's a lot of innovation there that I have seen from the initial trailers, and I think this will just be great experience and probably my game of the year, even if God of War Ragnarok comes out. I really think that the potential with Forbidden West is just much higher, but that's why it's my number 2 as opposed to God of War being my number 3.
Wow. Do we think that Forbidden? No, I guess Horizon, not Forbidden. Do we think Horizon is going to be a trilogy, or just continuing forever? Or what do you
the second game hasn't come out yet, but that's always the hard question because it's such a good premise. And I think with how the story's designed, the first game, you definitely needed Aloy as a character, but depending upon how they portray her in this game, I think they could maybe introduce other characters to kind of create a broader franchise out of it. Not to say I want them to make more, because obviously we still need to see how good Forbidden West
the
is.
story is.
You're right. And so once I finish Forbidden West, I guess then I'll be able to make a more concrete decision to say, yes, create a Horizon universe. I want more stories beyond Aloy's story. Or yeah, maybe we just keep playing with Aloy and we get Horizon 7 by 2050. I think I'd be fine with that if they're willing to make it. But I think definitely by the sheer fact that this is based on the planet and we've only, I guess, traversed a third of the United States, you definitely have a lot of, exploration possible. Yeah, a lot free real estate.
Next,
that's
Mexico.
Free real estate in America. That's never been uttered.
Horizon, Middle Earth. The equator. Or something.
I didn't know we were traveling to Middle Earth now. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Bring it back. This is a game that I'm very excited for. Very excited for. I will play it this year. I know I will. It might not be immediately. It might not be
in February.
It might not be in February. I just finished in Platinum's Horizon.
Zero Dawn.
Now I'm messing up all of these names because they've got too many names.
You're like,
it's got
Forbidden
Frozen
Dawn.
Wilds was the DLC.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, that's also FW. So we have Horizon ZD FW.
Forbidden West, yeah.
And now we have Horizon FW.
Yeah. So this game is going to be probably one of the best experiences this year. I think this is easily a Game of the Year contender. It makes me wonder, would Sony release Forbidden West and Ragnarok in the same year? I just don't know. Maybe they will, and I hope they do, because we will just be feeding this year if they do. Because that game, I think that it had one of the best stories I've seen on a PS4 game. I have this huge backlog, and throughout my backlog that I played through, it's been one of the best games that I played. I definitely was slower to get through it because of the whole open world system, but that's not really that game's problem. That's just a me thing. That's what I do with every open world game. This is going to be a fantastic story. They set it up perfectly to where I am very invested in the story from day one. I want to see what happens. And honestly, just answering Tiffany's question, I kind of hope they don't. I hope this has a conclusion to it and that they move on to something else. I think that Guerrilla Games has definitely proved themselves to have something special, but we'll just have to see where the story goes, because at this point, I have no idea how they could make, someone else other than Aloy be the main character. So we'll see. I'm very excited for the game. It's going to be one of the best games of the year, but it's not my number one, because a week after Forbidden West graces our presence.
Are you
We
saying
are
it's
finally
Zelda Breath of the Wild 2? Are they doing? Is Nintendo doing it again?
Yeah, they're bringing it back. That would actually be hilarious. But they won't do that because everyone besides Forbidden West is scared of a small game called Elden Ring, which is my number one. That is going to absolutely take over my March. Elden Ring, it's a From Software game. Honestly, Legend of Zelda is one of my favorite gaming series, but if we're talking about just developers, From Software takes the cake. This is Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3. Honestly, are they're both in my top 25 games of all time. So putting that into more of it is kind of like it's not a full open world, but it's very much more open than Dark Souls ever was. But I just cannot wait. The combat that From Software has, the lore that it has, the character design, enemy design, weapons, everything about it. Fantasy, I feel like sci-fi and fantasy, medieval fantasy, are two of my best settings. I love both of them. I could have a space adventure all the time. I'm playing through Mass Effect 2 right now. It's fantastic. But at the same time, more of a medieval fantasy is probably my number one thing. That's why I love Game of Thrones. Lord of the Rings Amazon series is coming out this year. Can't wait for that. But Elden Ring is just like the icing on the cake for me. That will be my prediction for Game of the Year this year for me personally. But I also see this hitting. Like they had a event where they previewed it to a bunch of people in media. And people are just talking crazy stuff about this. Like it is something that I think will review crazy well. And I think it is unfortunate that there isn't a difficulty setting. I would love to see other people get into it and have that accessibility. But at the same time, that's what I enjoy most about this game. If this game was easy, I don't think that I would enjoy it as much. So they did say that it might be the easiest From Software game that they've ever played. So if that piques your interest, you should check it out. But I'm definitely excited. It's coming out in February, late February. So it is going to take over my life. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to play it on. PS5 or Xbox Series X.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. Which system are you going to get it for?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I share games with Yasser on PlayStation, and I asked him the other night, I was like, would you play Elden Ring? And he's like, maybe. So I don't know. Like if it's a strong maybe, then maybe I'll get it on PlayStation. I'm not sure. I'm going to be playing a ton of it though.
Yeah, because I'm also now, I mean, because you have both, the Series X and the PlayStation 5, picking which one, if it's not a Game Pass game, how do you even pick which one you get it for?
¿Por qué no los dos?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Who knows?
Throw down $140.
Sure. I mean, if it's really Game of the Year, he wants to support it, just like you and Turning Red in the theaters. You gotta show. The only way we can show support for these creative endeavors, unfortunately, is by paying up. So.
Yep.
That's
100%.
true. I did just buy a game that I've already owned on a different console this past weekend. Yeah. So I guess, just buy both. If I don't know. Anyway.
Hey, if you can, go for it. All right, Tiffany.
My number one is also a video game. My number one also does not have a release date, and I'm just hoping and praying it comes out in 2022. Please, Hogwarts Legacy, I need you in my life. Nice. I need this game. I need it. I will take a week off. I say I take a day off for this, not for movies. I will take a week off to play this game. Also, then if they tell me that this game only takes 30 hours, then I won't take a week off. But
maybe a long weekend.
I'm ready to buckle in and have a 60-hour adventure in freaking Diagon Alley and
Hogsmeade.
The Hogsmeade, the Three and Broomsticks, Hogwarts, the game looks pretty good. Like from the short 2-minute trailer that we have, the only snippet of information that we have. Portkey Games is working hard. WB is pulling shenanigans, trying to pretending or thinking about selling but not selling or whatever. But leave the poor devs alone.
Yeah.
Let them do their work and let this game come out. Please and thank you. I will pre-order this. I will pre-order whatever nonsensical ultimate serial edition that comes out. If they're like about to sell me a dragon statue, like I will pay for it.
What
Like-
if they sell 4 different versions for each house?
I would die, but you know
That'd be
what?
amazing.
I would. Alex, don't you dare! Don't you
It turns
dare
into
say
Pokemon.
that. Yeah. If they're like we have
Gryffindor
4 different,
version.
they're literally like I have 4 different steelbooks of this game. Like I would lose my free. I don't even care about steelbooks, but if they're just like, oh my god, Alex, how dare you put this into the universe? This is
WB, I got you. You can pay me a consulting fee later.
I would.
Yeah, they would make
Oh
a
my-
lot of money if they did that.
I would buy 2 copies. No, I'm just kidding. I'd just be like, give me that Ravenclaw edition. Oh man, could you imagine them coming out with the different editions? That's ridiculous. Don't even.
That would be hilarious.
Or listen, if they come out with like a weird DLC situation, like here's Ravenclaw DLC, here's Gryffindor,
Yeah.
I will buy all the DLCs.
Do we know what this game is going to be? Like, I'm
have
assuming
no-
action adventure.
I hope it's action adventure.
Okay. Yeah. I just don't know enough about it. I'm very excited. And
Matt.
once they put the release date, they'll probably have more information. I'll be like sold. I love Harry Potter. And that
I
whole universe,
just-
I will go for it.
I just saw the reunion HBO special and I had a lot of like I was like sitting there and watching these actors reminisce and looking at them
Mm-hmm.
too because I'm like, man, you guys look old, and then it made me feel old. Like
yeah, when
I was
they're
like,
our age. Yep.
yeah, I was like, I was like, you've matured and I hate it. But anyway, so like, I just remember all the feelings that I had reading the books, watching the movies. Granted, like the later movies, I've only seen Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 once. I've only
What?
I've literally seen those movies once each. I've also I've read that final book only once. Like, it hurt me when I
Oh,
was...
The Cursed Child?
No, Deathly
Oh.
Hollows. The book, Deathly Hollows. I only read that.
The
Like,
playwright?
I'm pretty sure I've read Harry Potter 1 through 4 at least 6 times each, like, growing up.
Okay.
Especially because I was, like, waiting for... Yeah, I'm flexing. Alex is just like, oh, look at me. I'm a Harry Potter nerd. But anyway, like, yeah. I read those books a lot. 5 was not my favorite. I think... Like, I just have so many memories. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
literally, it's like 20 years of my life. Gen Z makes fun of millennials for being Harry Potter, like, shills all the time. But it was formative. These
Yeah.
stories are formative. And
Oh, yeah.
this game looks great. And if it's what I even hope and dream... Okay, wait. Come close. Everyone come close. If this game is just me making my own character and going through, living my life... as a Ravenclaw student and then going on adventures. I mean, come on. What more do
Yeah,
you need?
what can you
If
do?
this is a Harry Potter Persona 5, I'm living here.
Oh, that would
Just
be
like-
that would be pretty interesting.
Like, send
That'd be
my
awesome.
owls out. Like, I'm moving my address. I'm relocating to Hogwarts,
Yeah.
okay?
That would
like,
be pretty interesting to see,
you know-
like Persona 5 or like a Fire Emblem 3 Houses type deal with
yeah.
with Hogwarts.
Like,
That'd be
just,
amazing.
That's all I want. Just
Mm-hmm.
give it to me. Here's $70. I'll buy it on every console. I'm not gonna buy a Switch version.
You're all
But
about
you don't-
buying on multiple consoles. Bring us cross play and cross everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I love the movies. I've read the books once each because I'm not a big reader, just personally. I read The Cursed Child playwright once, and it was almost like I almost regretted it. I was like, "Bleh."
I read it once. It's not worth it, Matt. You need to see it in person. Like,
Yeah,
it redeemed everything.
I hope to see it in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just don't know enough about it. That's where I'm at with this.
My hype is enough for all 3 of us. Buckle
I
in.
feel it. I feel it.
Like, I'm gonna be like, Alex, you need to play this game. Merry Christmas. I'm literally gonna force it on him, and he's gonna be like, "Why'd you do this? Why you do this?"
do this. All right, Alex. Number 1. What beat out Horizon? I just have to know.
Oh, okay, yeah. So both of my co-hosts here had games. Surprisingly, actually, to me, that they both had games as their top anticipated. Albeit, we are very games leaning on this podcast. But mine is not a game for my number 1.
He's going to pull out, it's a song. That's what he's going to say. Number 1 anticipated. It's just going to be some song.
I mean, usually artists don't like advertise songs like that. But no, it's not a song. This is a movie. And it's a sequel. And that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Nice.
Wow. I love it.
And
Part 1.
Yeah, part 1.
Yeah,
excuse me, I forgot the part 1. Yes, it is part 1. And so this is my number 1 because to me, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the best animated film I've ever seen. I think the way it takes animated films, like the medium, the visuals, the writing, even just especially the content, right? The source material of having all these different versions of Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Spider-whatever, just crossing together, and how it kind of, I guess, does the multiverse before stuff like even Spider-Man No Way Home has done it. At that time when the movie came out was just, it broke every expectation. I had no real understanding that movies could be this good, especially in this form, right? The visuals, the colors, the music, just everything was done so well. Like Sony Animation Studios really raised my bar in terms of what I expect out of animated films. And I think one of the main advantages, right, of animated films is you're not relying on actors. You're not relying on the visuals of an actor to carry it. So it's really up to the artist's creative imagination to say, how are we going to tell a story? And it's, that's limitless, right? We all have creative minds, and how I think creatively is different from how everyone else thinks. And I think that movie just went to show that even as creative as a person I think I am, I never would have thought to do a lot of the stuff they did there. And I think Across the Spider-Verse hopefully continues that trend, at least visually. It's doing it with the trailer they released. And also, yeah, just like Spider-Man as a concept, and all the different iterations of Spider-Man, I think is fertile ground for some very fun, very interesting, and also very heartwarming storytelling. And so that's why Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 is my most anticipated experience of 2022.
That's amazing.
So stoked for that movie too. Like, so stoked. Coming out October 7th, 2022.
In the US.
Are you putting in some PTO?
I should. I should. I'm kidding. I probably won't.
Okay.
Like, I
Fair
feel
enough.
like that one I could see. I could wait till Saturday to see if I need to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it, and it actually warms my heart that it's Alex's number 1 most anticipated experience, because I was not expecting that at all, to be completely honest.
Yeah. No, I was not at all. I am very excited for that as well. I think that is a great pick. I think, honestly, it's up there as maybe my favorite Spider-Man film. Is that bold to say? I don't know.
No, that's not bold.
Maybe, but honestly,
join the club, Matt. We got a ton of room in here. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
It was great. It was great. So I'm very excited for that. Yeah, I hope it hits. I'm a little bit nervous that it's part 1. Like, when you start doing 2 parts, I feel pretty strongly about putting one movie and making it into 2 parts, because
you
it's
have
kind of
Harry
like the
Potter
same thing.
to thank for that, don't we?
Yeah,
It literally
in
is
Twilight,
Harry Potter.
Twilight and Harry Potter
And Hunger Games.
Yep. And you climax at a weird part. Like, it doesn't maybe make it as meaningful for the first part. And then the second part climaxes way too quick. And then it just lingers for too long. So I hope it doesn't fall into that trap. I would rather them just make it one movie. But that's just
I'll
me.
sit there for 4 hours and watch an anime film. I'll do it.
Listen, we watched a couple movies this year that felt like forever. And we're like 3 hours. It's fine. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. What a list. What a list. We had, 18 games. 18 things listed. We only had a couple overlaps. That's pretty decent.
I mean, more like 15 things listed. You know what I mean?
15?
Ish.
Oh, was
Who's
it only
counting?
15?
Well,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Doctor Strange was on both of our lists. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I forgot about
like,
that.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange and God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Excellent. What a great list. So if you want to talk about what your list is, we're on podcast services now. We're on YouTube. I don't know where you're listening to this. If you're on YouTube, we're under RXP Podcast. You can always like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us what you think about our list. Tell us all about Thor and that lore with Thor or anything else with that.
Thor lore.
Yeah, exactly. But if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us on our Gmail at rxp.podcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at rxp_podcast. But for that, big thanks to Grandmaster Doug for the tunes, and we will see you next time. I'm a little bit confused.
I feel it in my bones.
Por qué no los dos?